It's time to talk NASCAR. That's right, on Prime Sports NASCAR with Eric Smith of RaceReviewOnline.net. And Eric, over the years, especially the last few years, we've had a lot to complain about. A lot. We've been very upset about a lot of things that have gone on in this sport. We've had hundreds of different ideas of what the sport can do to improve themselves. And we've been very critical, and I don't hold any of that back, and I stand by it, and I'm sure you do too. So now, finally, I am ready to, and it's temporary, but I am ready to give NASCAR all its due for what is without a doubt the most exciting start to a season that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's been wild. I mean, look at the winners. I mean, they've only had one that was Larson 4-1. Everybody else has been double digits.
Yeah.
I mean, even Byron.
I love it.
I mean, I know it's
even
not
though I haven't
for
picked a winner yet, but I love it.
I was gonna say it's not great for our weekly picks, but
we'll get there. We'll figure it out. Just keep doing this, and we'll figure it out.
Yep. Well, exactly. Like I put in our weekly picks recap and on our site that, I mean, I don't even know why CJ would have picked William Byron last week, and he luckily hit it. But
I know, right? I thought the same thing.
He didn't have a top 5 in his career at Atlanta. I'm like, who in their right mind would throw money his way? And he wins.
I know.
Granted, if things went differently, he probably wouldn't have won because of the draft. I thought Christopher Bell kind of screwed that up because I think Chastain was probably going to win that race on that final lap, and then Bell didn't go with him, and all hell broke loose. But yeah, I mean, you just look at the winners and what they've done on the tracks going into that weekend, and to put it blunt, they sucked. It's like, why would you pick these guys?
I know.
I mean, Briscoe didn't even have a top 10 at Phoenix. He wins. Byron had no top 5s at Atlanta. He wins. There is no rhyme or reason for anything. And we talked about last week going into with all this parity and odd winners going into a road course where Hendrick has just dominated. Well, let's see. Let's see if the parity is here, because this is the true test. I mean, hell, Hendrick got another win last week, and well, now we're to the road course where it's been them in their own league, and they've kind of been in their own league this season. So does that translate to a road course win, or is it going to be so much parity where all hell could break loose again Sunday?
All right, before we do that, a couple more things to wrap up with Atlanta. First of all, how awesome is this track now that they have?
Oh yeah,
I mean, this is a mini Daytona.
This is what they've been wanting. This is what they wanted with the old package. This is what they were trying to get. And I think that car, it goes to show, like people have said, when you have so much engineering involved and you've learned the car, you can't unlearn what you already know. And that made these cars, there's so much downforce, and they knew how to manipulate air so well that you weren't going to get what we saw last Sunday. That the goal of that 550 package was what we saw last Sunday. That's what they wanted. It just never materialized because these people knew this car too well. Well, this car was made for this, and look what we saw. Now the question is, if you're a 1.5 mile track, why would you not maybe reconsider what Atlanta just did? The problem is you get too much. Do you oversaturate? Like, does Vegas do it? Texas should. I mean,
not on 1.5 mile tracks. We are so bored of those races that I am not going to. It would be years before I go. I'm kind of getting bored of this.
You would have to. I would say if I'm a 1.5 mile track, I absolutely like Texas, Vegas. I mean, look, you already lost Chicago and Kentucky. 1.5 mile track's gone. I don't think they're coming back. Now, Texas, we've all admitted. I mean, even the IndyCar race this last week, and is that their last race there, or their future was up in the air. That PJ1, the way they reconfigured, they've ruined it. Well, Texas is Atlanta's sister track. Wouldn't they want to do this? Wouldn't that spice up their action? Because as more and more 1.5 mile tracks get left off, they've got to look and like, well, look, we could lose a date. Why wouldn't we? Look, that worked. That race was sold out. They had over 4 million people watch this race on Sunday. So
and it's gonna be even more next time.
Yep. So I think you might start seeing more and more 1.5 mile tracks.
I hope so.
Because why would you not? And it goes to show if you listen to the drivers, because the drivers didn't want this.
Yeah, I know.
The track went out. They got a lot of flack for this over the last year. And now I think people see, like, that was literally, I remember turning in for the practice between the IndyCar stuff I was working on. I'm like, this looks weird. This literally it just looked
I know.
like it was a mini Daytona. It's like these guys can't break away, and it's a mile smaller.
Yeah.
And like they said, the only question now is go two extremes here. Was 500 miles a little too long? Because like the driver said, yes, that's the kind of racing you're going to get on this now. But however, at least Daytona, Talladega have a longer backstretch, a little more. Like this was physical in a sense that it's so much shorter. You don't have time. Like it just seems fast. It's a shorter track. So do you need that for 500 miles? I mean, that race seemed like it took forever.
Probably not.
Could you go down to 400 miles?
Yeah.
Or here's my other kicker to make it really separate itself. Back in the day, we talked about man versus machine versus track. It was physical. Some guy, I mean, they would get out of they just park the car. They just couldn't do it any longer. Do you do a 600 or 700 mile race? Do you really make this thing treacherous? To like, all right, this is an endurance race almost. So let's really test these guys because they were tired. This is finally said. You really push these guys to the limit. Finally,
there'd probably be like 6 cars left.
That's the problem. That's what I was gonna say. 30. I saw 31 of the 37 had crash damage on Sunday. So that's the fine line. Is you're gonna see like a Daytona and Talladega. We saw. I think it was 27 of the 40 in Daytona crashed. 31 of the 37 in this race. How much crash damage budgets are you going to tap into if you add more of these races?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of finite points to go along with it. But needless to say, the top one is it worked. That is exactly what we wanted, and it worked. And we got a crazy winner. So
and I was a little upset at, and then I don't know what the strategy was for Blaney. But I don't understand why he thought sitting there and just it's like he was stuck to Bubba Wallace. It's like, all right, I got whatever Bubba's gonna do, I'm gonna do because I know they're buddies, and it's just look, he's not your teammate. First of all,
no.
Second of all, I mean, Chase went down twice. Go down with him. He'll push you. You'll be the car that he pushes. Why not do that? And then I forget which was the car that was smart enough that was behind Blaney that said, well, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then he goes ahead and Blaney winds up losing the draft and he winds up all the way back in whatever. So I don't know what he was thinking.
That's what I hate about some of these races in a sense. That's why like they kept saying Byron's a sitting duck. And he was because he was there. Those guys at any moment, they could have pulled out, made a move, and he was gone. I mean, Elliott kept going low, trying. Somebody please go with me.
Yes.
Nobody, and he couldn't get any momentum. It goes to show you need drafting help. He tried, and it looked like he'd have momentum. He'd go low. I'm like, oh, he's going to pass this field. And he'd come right back in behind Chastain because nobody'd go with him. And I think he was doing it, too, knowing that, hey, Byron, that's my teammate. I'm going low. If these guys make a move, I'm coming in behind you to push you. He was trying. Worst case scenario, but nobody was doing anything, and they just kept waiting lap after lap after lap. And I think it goes to show it doesn't work because second and third was Bubba and Blaney, and they both wrecked. They didn't. And Chastain finally tried on the last lap, and that's what I started off saying is he was going to win, but Bell just forcing his way below the white or red blue line, whatever color it was. It's like, why would you not just push him? There's the out of bounds line. You know that. And he went to that line knowing, and like Chastain said, nobody could go below me. I was as low as anybody could go. If he would have just locked bumpers with them and pushed them, Byron wouldn't have won that race. But Bell goes below. Now those two are side by side, and you don't have any help because two cars side by side with one in front, the one in front. And it was just a perfect storm. And it almost, that's what Daytona and Talladega, when they do the same thing, and I get it. It's like, well, if you make a move too early, now you're the guy sitting duck. But don't you kind of have to make the move? I mean, when does it ever work?
And shouldn't that be the job of the crew chiefs to communicate?
Yes. Well, and to me, I would think, too, especially after seeing this, because you always know once you hit the white flag, if there's a wreck behind, we've seen it, race is over. Wouldn't you rather just be in the lead? Wouldn't you rather just get
take
to the
the
point?
chance?
You don't know.
Take the chance.
Yes. Because even if they do get to the lead, and let's say there is a wreck with 3 to go, now you're the leader with lane choice. Wouldn't that be better than
especially at Atlanta, it's not as big. I think the leader at Atlanta has a much better shot to win than at Daytona or Talladega.
Exactly. And we saw that with Byron. I mean, hell, just stick to the bottom lane, force them to go hot. It just Byron, to me, as weird as it sounds, he led the most laps. I feel like he stole the win in a sense. He should not have won any. If guys made moves they were supposed to make, which they should have, he doesn't win that race because Byron or Blaney and Bubba. I mean, foolish on them. Foolish to ride around for several laps. Just make your move. Go to the lead. The lead's sitting there. What are you waiting on?
I don't know.
And
especially if they both drop down. Byron has to wait for the fourth car to catch him before he could push him. He's going to lose some momentum, and maybe that move that you guys have is just enough momentum you need to go around Byron. So
yeah, it would have pushed him ahead. Byron likely, to be all honest, him and Chase probably fall outside the top 10 because I guarantee if they would have set him up, like Byron, they kept saying he was 70% throttle. He had to get off the throttle to back up to him because if he got too far, so you knew all it took was Bubba, just pick your line. You're going to go by. You got more speed. Blaney to push him. I guarantee Chastain at that point would go with them. Chase would try to come down and help his teammate, but the guys behind, they didn't have any other Hendrick guys up there. Bowman was already too far back, and Larson was out of the race. So I think because of being Hendrick, why would you draft with those guys? Hey, let's move them back.
Sure.
So that's what I couldn't fathom. Was like, why would you not just get them out of the way?
And they had more than enough time. I mean, it was the same setup for laps.
And wouldn't you rather fight your friend for the win, knowing that you're going to take care of each other?
Sure.
At least you two could have had a shot for the win, but they didn't give themselves a shot.
They screwed it up.
The white flag. Yep. Chastain finally was the one that made the move. I don't know if they actually were going to make the move.
Yep.
It just was baffling.
Yep.
So played out, they lost the race, and this is a week that it just to kind of go into this week and tie in Atlanta with Phoenix and everything passed together is when's Blaney going to figure it out? What's the excuse this week? It's the pit crews, the pit crew, the pit crew. Now him. It's like, what more do you want? You had the car to win. Are you going to go for the win, or are you just going to let other factors?
Yeah, you worry too much about your friends.
Yep, and you basically
friends and teammates because the whole teammate thing screwed him up in the Daytona 500.
Yep. Well, yeah, and you got to look at probably his pit crew took him out of Fontana. His pit crew took him out of Vegas. He should have won both of those races, and he should have won last week. So that's 15 playoff points that is now off the table that he could have in the play. How much is this going to come back and bite him? Which is like we said last year about Hamlin. How much is the lack of playoff points going to hurt him because he wasn't winning races? Well, it did. He didn't win a championship. Well, here we are with Blaney. It's like, when are you going to actually finish the deal? You should have won. You should have won this race, but you didn't, and now you're going to have to pay for it. And so far he is.
So let me ask you then, because you've been on your futures, it's still Kyle Larson. I'm just doing Kyle Larson. He's still the favorite, 3-1, and I'm just investing on Kyle Larson. And of course I have Kyle Larson on my fantasy team. And I even asked you a couple of weeks ago what would you give me for Kyle Larson? And we didn't really talk about that. And so a couple of weeks have gone by since then, and Larson hasn't done anything. Yep. But, again, what does that mean? We don't know. We still don't know.
We don't know.
So,
and that's why I keep trying to build because last year, by the time I started taking them,
it was too late.
Too little, too late. And I'm taking them, but I can't. So I'm just kind of building that now because I see so much parity, and these odds are just so long for everybody else right now that it's like, I've got time to build with them. I mean, once I get Larson built up, I could just do a couple $100 on a couple of these guys and build them up, and now I've got everybody.
True.
Where if I go the other route, then I'm just kind of in quicksand with Larson. I'm not actually gaining anything, and by the time it really kicks into gear, then I'm in the hole again,
sure.
And that just didn't help me. So that's my strategy is because then on the other flip side, if we get to the summer months and it's looking like, well, we may not be working out, and I still have a feeling we're going to get to Memorial Day weekend, June, and we're going to still have this kind of racing because like we talked last week, the track's coming up, that I think the futures are still going to reside in the 10-1, 11-1, 9-1. You're going to get good drivers there. So, like, I can make some ground up by throwing $500 somebody's way and just really closing the gap.
That's right. You get more money to invest in the playoffs. Yes.
That's my strategy. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Kyle Larson has been in the top 2, 30th or worse. There has been no in between. So it's like, so which one is he? He's kind of hard to figure out right now. I mean, he's either winning or he's finishing second. He's done that, 2-3 times, or he's literally 30th or worse.
Yeah.
So if he's that's what has me a little concerned for him. Is like, that's not going to be able to last very long.
Well, we'll find out this week.
This week's going to be a true. This is going to be a true test. Yeah. It is, and then Bristol for him will be a test. Dirt racer and dirt car.
And he screwed it up the last time. So
he did. So we'll see. But yeah, this week's the test.
So let me ask you then, if you wanted Kyle Larson on your team and you were going to offer me something, what would it be?
I feel like I have to offer 2 drivers because I don't feel like I still have one.
And I might have to give you 2 as well, and it would just be.
It has to be. Let me look at my.
So
I got it up right here.
So right now it's interesting because your top pick is like your worst right now.
Yeah,
and that's Hamlin.
And that's what I say. He's had speed. He's just had some bad luck. So I'm like, I would trade him now for Larson. Don't get me wrong. I would 100% give you Hamlin for Larson. But it's like,
yeah. But what else would it?
There's no way. Like I feel bad offering that because it's like you're not going to take Hamlin for Larson. Why would you do that?
Between Hamlin, I'll tell you right now, the 3 drivers that I would be interested in some sort of combination would be Harvick, Reddick, and Hamlin.
I was going to say, I was thinking Hamlin and either Harvick or Reddick for Larson, and I got to have a lower. Maybe Kurt.
Kurt's off to a good start.
He is. I don't know why you'd want to give up. Briscoe seems to be that top 10 driver, and I don't know if Briscoe and Reddick may be
they're
towards a wash.
Yeah, it seems like
Hamlin
can go either way.
I just don't feel like that's it. Yeah, so I feel like they're close. Yeah. You got Larson, who to me is above Hamlin. So I'm like, I'm winning that trade over you. I just don't feel like that would be a smart trade for you.
I mean, if you gave me if
Hamlin,
I gave you Larson and who?
Briscoe. I feel like they're pretty. I feel like Briscoe and Reddick are. I just throw them in an even slightish category. Kurt, I think, because he's a Toyota. I mean,
Bowman's
interesting.
What if it was Hamlin and Harvick?
Yeah, I'd say Hamlin and Harvick for Briscoe and Larson, because I'd say Briscoe because you're switching SHR drivers. Harvick is, I'd say that's probably more even.
All right, let me think about that, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, with this week. But and we'll talk more about these drivers, obviously, when we preview the race. And that's what we have to do here next, because.
Or I would say the only other one that it'd be intriguing would be Hamlin, Logano, Blaney, and Larson, because you get Logano, who's always. But I'm also contradicting myself. I said before the season, Logano's my championship pick. He's got 3 top 10s his last 4, and basically a lock according to trends for championship 4. So it's like, that's where I said it's intriguing in a sense. I'm almost, if you go on trends, I'm giving you a championship 4 driver.
Sure.
Blaney has never made it there, and I'm giving the guy that every even year has made it to the championship 4. He's got 3 top 10s his last 4. Penske's shown they get better as the year goes. If they start off slow, they get better. Or if they start off hot, they get worse. They've got room to grow. It's like, I'm taking a risk on Blaney and handing you almost a shoe-in, but I'm also getting a shoe-in back. And I'm handing you basically 2 championship 4 drivers in the past, statistically, with Hamlin. So I said, that's an intriguing one. That would be.
Well, hey, we wouldn't even be having this conversation if it wasn't for the parity.
Exactly. Now, if this was last year, it would be like, why would you guys trade it? Hey, Larson and Hamlin were almost a wash in the regular season at this point. So the parity's helped.
Okay, so what have you heard as we take a look at this race in Texas, the EchoPark Auto Grand Prix? So what what have you heard regarding the new car and what it could do to affect these road course racing?
I've heard it could be a lot better in a sense. The old car was made, to be honest, when it came out in 2013, mostly ovals, mostly turning left. I mean, there was at that point only 2 road courses on the whole schedule. So that car wasn't built with road courses in mind. It would like just from all the parts and pieces, it was hard to drive on road courses. So once you figured it out, you really figured it out. This car, on the other hand, was built with the gears and the shifting and the turning. It was more built for this. It was built for left and right turns. It's like a street car. Like it's built to run on streets.
Okay.
Turn left, you turn right. So this car, it was made for this. This is what it was made for. Was to do this. It's
so why should that help other drivers then, and not Larson and Elliott so much?
Because then the last few years, you could tell Hendrick figured something out on road courses. They got that car the best to turn left and right, and it was just even as the more teams tried to catch up, the more they were innovating to get better. It just there was no catching.
So now the field is
this
even.
One, yeah, this one you just wipe it all clean. This is the first road course we've even ran on with this car. Other than the Roval, we've never really tested this car before on a road course. And the Roval, we saw that wasn't a finished product. They've made a lot of changes to the car since that Roval test, and steering mainly. So, yeah, this car was made for this moment. And plus, you got to look at we saw it last week with Chastain. Half these drivers that wrecked should have been done. I mean, like they said in the past, you wrecked with that old car, you're done for the day. You'd have tire rubs. Well, they had the different sheet metal, the panels that you could just fix. So you could run this race like a short track. You can bump and bang. You can use it. You can finesse it. It's there. You can also bump and bang and realize you're not going to have a tire go down or anything like that.
Okay.
So that's why this car was made for this. What we don't know, like I said, is this is the first road course, and the track's like 3.41 miles. You got a long track where a lot can happen to where I feel we've seen how difficult this car is to drive on ovals. We'll see if you could spin and get off track, but because it's so big, you may not get a full course yellow. They could probably keep going. They may not hit anything. So there's the tendency that you may have strategy more involved in this with pit cycles. Maybe you gamble, throw away stage points, which will spread the field out. So, yeah, it could be a lot of factors that nobody quite knows yet. But in terms of the car's drivability, it should be better on the road course.
But you just went right back, wagering-wise, and decided you're just going to take pretty much the top 2 drivers this week. You're just going to try to get your money back and not lose money this week. So you don't think much is going to change.
I'm one of those, I'll believe it when I see it. Just only, I didn't think things would change. But then what's odd is if you still go back, let's see, I got it right here. If you go back to 2019, 2018, Hendrick Motorsports has won 8 of the last 10.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry. They've won 9 of the last 11 road course races. On the season, if you go back to last year, they've won 8 of the last 10 races. They've won 3 of the last 4 weeks on the season. So it's like they've been good on road courses. Granted, you can't take anything over. But they've also been good on the season. Good at the end of last year. Good this season. You're basically Hendrick Motorsports for the field this week. And
that makes sense.
I just felt, why not ride the hot hand? Gibbs, I didn't feel good about where they are. None of those 4 cars, they look fast. They just don't have the finishes. So do you really trust they're just going to break through in the last, they're 0 for the last 10?
Well, the thing with Kyle, and I said this last week to you personally, that once he wrecked again, it was like, because we said this on the air last week, that they just keep screwing up, even though they're fast and it was amazing that they were actually in position as far as the standings were concerned And even now, after the 33rd, they're still 11th. But Kyle is like the best and has been consistently the best non-Elliott Larson driver on road courses, especially last year. He had 5 top 10s, 4 top 5s, and 6 road course races. Now, he didn't win, but he was that next guy. So I just said, all right, it's not a super speedway, so I'm just going to go back to Kyle one more week just to get my money back if he is still that guy that we saw last week. And we know he's going to be good on a road course. But that's why I'm still kind of wondering about Kyle. And but it is strange that everything is happening every week to Kyle, that something screws up.
It is weird. It's with the whole JGR bunch, which is weird. It's not like, because you look at their finishes, you look where they're on the points, like, man, these guys have just been terrible. But they've had fast cars. Like Kyle last week was leading laps. He just got wrecked with Dillon running up front. And then Hamlin's been up front. It's just he's been making mistakes. Bell's had fast cars. He's just not finishing. So, yeah, I mean, for 10-1, it's not a bad wager at all. I mean, you're getting him at 10-1 for a guy that could easily win. And remember, he won the Xfinity race here last year, and it was in dry conditions. The Cup race was in wet conditions. So last time he had a dry race at COTA, Kyle won. So and you're giving him at 10-1. So yeah, it's out of anybody out of the Hendrick camp, yeah, he's got to be the top, which is what the odds are reflecting right now.
Okay, so then also we've got AJ. And AJ is going to run some races, so it's not a surprise he's going to run these road course races. And he had the win at Indy last year, and he ran 3 road course races, and he had 2 top 5s and a win. CJ put money on AJ. Neither one of us did, though. And it's just that I think that for me, and again, you put most of your money on the favorites. That's why. For me, I wanted to put some money on longer shots than AJ, but AJ is definitely capable.
Yeah, same. I feel like him and Cindric because Cindric's good on road courses, but 14-1 and 16-1 for those two are just, I feel like, way too high. It's like we talked about Reddick a few weeks ago, and he was like 7-1 in some places, and it just,
I got carried away.
I just don't think. I feel like those guys should still be in the 20s or 30s to 1, and maybe give them a look. But at that rate, with what you're getting, you have to give up for Larson and Elliott. And it didn't make sense to me. Because let's be honest, is he truly going to win at the end of the day? I just don't buy it yet. Yes, they're good on road courses, but Cindric's had some bad luck. And Allmendinger, he's got one Cup win at Indy, which was, we saw how that he won. He lucked into it. I mean, Briscoe and Hamlin got in each other's way. And so are you going to see something like that happen this week? I don't know. For those odds, it's just because at the end of the day, you pick to win the money. And are they truly going to win? I don't trust it yet. Not for those odds. So I stayed away.
Well, there's only 2 drivers we all agreed on this week. One was Kyle Larson. I mean, Chase Elliott. And the other was Ross Chastain.
I was going to say, I got it right here. Chastain.
Why not?
Yeah.
3rd, 2nd, and 2nd in his last 3 races. And he had 3 top 10s and 1 top 5 on the road course last year. And the top 5, by the way, was here.
Yep, exactly. And he's got the hot hand. I mean, he's that guy you just keep seeing. We talked about last week. Is eventually going to win. And you get him oddly, I feel like he should be where Cindric or Allmendinger is, but they got him at 25-1. And he was 4th last year. And in fact, I think last weekend, wasn't he 18-1 or 20-1 or something like that? So it's like they gave him even longer odds for a track he should be better at. It just didn't make sense. Like, it just kind of fell into your lap. So yeah, for 25-1 they're running just so good right now that I would feel better about him than Allmendinger, who's a road course ace right now.
Especially because of the odds.
Yeah, and he's running hot right now. I mean, that 2 straight runner-ups and a 3rd the week prior, just hard to overlook that.
And then we both agreed on putting money on both Reddick at 30-1 and Kurt Busch at 50-1. Reddick had 4 top 10s on the road courses last year, including here. And Kurt Busch had 3 top 10s and 1 top 5 on the road courses last year. And as we mentioned also, Kurt Busch, back-to-back top 5s on the season coming in. So 50-1. That's 30-1, 50-1. Those are again. I'd rather go with those drivers more than the drivers in the teens.
Exactly. And keep in mind, Reddick won the pole for this race last year, and he's mentioned that between 2020 and 2021, he spent a lot of time learning road courses because he felt that was kind of what NASCAR's future was going to be, was adding more and more of those, so he better get better. It paid off last year. Well, he doubled down again in the offseason, thinking, I'm going to still get better on these things. So if you remember right, at the Roval, it was Larson, Reddick, and Byron running up front for majority of that. So you're giving me him at 30-1, and we've seen he's better this year. Why not? And then Kurt Busch, yeah, that is almost disrespectful to have him at 50-1. That was odd to me. I think he's got 3 top 8s his last 4 races on the season. He's a veteran. He knows road courses. That was odd to me. So for those 3, Chastain, Reddick, and Kurt just felt almost shade their way. Vegas was. It's like that. You've got part-time guys ahead of them, which seemed odd. So you better capitalize on them while they're that way.
And the other interesting long shots, Chris Buescher has back-to-back top 10s coming into this race. Was 13th here last year at 80-1. And I was a little bit surprised that you didn't put money on Daniel Suarez, your boy. I put a few bucks on Suarez. The only thing is that he's good at Watkins Glen. We haven't really seen much else, and he didn't have a good result here last year. But again, things were a lot different this year. 3 top 10s in his last 4, including 2 top 5s.
He likes this track. I mean, you got to think this because the proximity.
100-1.
He's a Mexican. Yeah, he's a Mexican driver in Texas. I mean, it's close. He talks about that, so it's not saying like, oh, you're just reaching here. No, he talks about the Texas tracks are close to him. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, he's coming off of good finishes. In Phoenix, he would have been in the top 10, but he had that run in with Kyle or Austin Dillon at the end. He was good last week. He's been good more times than not this year. I mean, there's legitimate. You could look other than Daytona. You could have a top 10 everywhere, and you get him for 100-1. And like you said, Buescher, and I mentioned Suarez is kind of a de facto home track. So is Buescher. He's from Texas. He likes it here, and he's coming off of some momentum coming. It just with the Keselowski penalty and that being his team car and all that drama now surrounding them, I feel like if they were outside the box a little bit, maybe they had an illegal part. Maybe it just wasn't caught because his car wasn't taken. We'll see. The team better operate inside that box this week. So I thought, even at 81, we'll shy away a little bit.
You mentioned Phoenix as we wrap up here, and I know we didn't talk about it a couple weeks ago, but it's especially after what we're seeing now with this new car and some exciting things and the new tracks and everything. Can we please get away from Phoenix for the championship race? Can we please do that? And is Atlanta warm enough in November?
Oh, yeah. They used to end the season in Atlanta for years.
Let's make the change.
The first time I went to a season finale was 1996, so I would have been 11. It was my 11th birthday present. We went to Atlanta. It was my birthday is November 13th, and it was that weekend, so it's early to mid-November. They used to run to Atlanta every year. I went there. It was cold, but March could be cold in Atlanta. So I would like to see them move it around. Now, granted, now that it runs like a super speedway, they've kind of said we don't want to end races on a fluke. But I also would say maybe that wasn't a fluke. Like that, while last week looked like Daytona and Talladega, I still feel like it wasn't as random as Daytona or Talladega. Granted, you saw the same drivers up front, Blaney and Wallace, and the same guys.
Well, wouldn't they be pushing the same 4 playoff drivers anyway? You know how it usually goes.
Well, and that's what I was going to lead into it. The Phoenix, you're going to get the 4 playoff guys, or the first 2 stages are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to get the final restart, and they're going to magically restart 1, 2, 3, 4. At least Atlanta makes it a little different, but the only thing that I think they would frown upon is, at least in Atlanta, was shown last Sunday, you had to have drafting help. So how big of a disadvantage would it be if, or an advantage, depending on how you look at it, if you don't have a teammate running the championship
Sure.
for? But also disadvantage would be if you have a teammate in the championship for, you're probably not drafting with each other. Why would you push the guy to win?
Yeah, that's true.
So that adds a layer of an interesting storyline too, where it could be fun. But yeah, I think the action at Phoenix got worse with this car. I think at least last year you could you could make more passes. I thought this year's race was worse than last year's, but we got time to tinker with it to make it a little bit better. But I don't mind an occasional Phoenix finale. I want to see it, like they originally said, move around.
Has to be. Yeah.
Go to Atlanta. Go back to Homestead. Go to Phoenix. The only thing with Atlanta, too, is I don't think NASCAR is ever going to give a season finale to an SMI track because NASCAR owns Phoenix and Homestead. So you're going to have their tracks. Yep. I don't know why you give up.
Sure.
So I think it penalizes Atlanta because I feel like if Texas changes, I'd be open to having Texas because you can run those tracks in November. You can end it. To me, I think the dream few, because you're kind of limited where you can run. I don't think you run Daytona or Talladega at the end, but you could do Homestead, Phoenix, Vegas, Texas, Atlanta, Fontana. You can run those races in November and get away with it, but you're also limited because you're not going to run an SMI track either. The NASCAR is not going to give up. Now, granted, I've heard NASCAR is trying to buy up all the tracks where they control all the tracks.
Well,
I just don't know how much SMI is going to allow that to happen either. But yeah, I would like to see like the Super Bowl, the Final Fours, move it around, or not only move it around, let tracks bid, get extra revenue, let them bid to host the finale.
Why not?
And doesn't mean you have to change. Which also, if you do that, means you change the playoffs up every year because it changes.
It should be too. Yeah, the whole same schedule, same track thing. It's just we made one change. No, that's not enough. You have to change it.
No,
it's not fair.
Change it every year. It isn't because you change sites like the football playoffs. The sites change every year. One team might have home field one year, and the next year they're a wild card team. They got to play on the road all the way to a Super Bowl. Or like the last 2 years, we've seen 2 teams host the Super Bowl. It just happened to be the Super Bowl was in their home stadium. So yeah, I would like to see it move around a little bit, and it doesn't help that some of the guys that could get to Phoenix struggle at Phoenix. It's like, well, that doesn't help. Like, I'm not good there. So maybe move it around would help. So yeah, I would like to see, and let's be honest, that was originally what NASCAR said when they moved from Homestead to Phoenix, is we're going to visit moving this around every year.
And why did they change their mind, or haven't? Has anybody asked them?
Yeah, and they said that they still are looking at it, and that Phoenix spent a lot of money and upgrades. So it's like the NFL. Hey, you get a new stadium, we're going to reward you with the Super Bowl. Well,
one's enough. Or 3's
Yeah.
enough, whatever it's been now. So
yeah, I feel like they could move this around a little bit, but hell, Darlington would be a nice South Carolina. I mean, if you go to Georgia in November, why can't you go to South Carolina?
We'll see how it is this year with a new car. So
that
should open things up for more options if there's better racing at some of these other tracks.
Exactly. So. And so far, what the only concern is, out of the 5 races we've ran, and if you rank them as we'll say entertainment factor, I would say Phoenix is last.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yes.
I would say, oddly enough, the short track is last.
Yes.
So, granted, Phoenix doesn't race a lot like a short track. I want to see these next few weeks after Sunday. We go to Richmond and Martinsville. Let's see what this car can do there. That'll be a true. Phoenix it's more of a higher speed. It's a mile. It's labeled a short track, but is it really truly a short track? Martinsville and Richmond those are short tracks. I know those are short tracks. Bristol's a short track, but we got dirt, so you can't take much from there. But we'll really see what this car can do on short tracks. Let's see, because it's the old car, because of too much downforce, can stink a show up because you've got more speed in a corner and you can't get to somebody to move them. Well, this car's proven you can rough people up and not ruin your day now. So, and we've seen a lot of drama this season with a lot of them teammates. So let's see if maybe we could go to Bristol or get in April and then the whole garage hate each other.
Hey, look,
which is good.
Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, they're the 2 favorites. They're supposed to potentially be the 2 to beat. And if they're there first and second, we know what happened a few weeks ago between these 2 boys.
Yep.
So
Well, I wrote about this week, and this would probably be it's in my 5 burning questions, and I'd be curious. And this is going to be a topic when you have more time, maybe next week. Is how would you rank the 4 Hendrick drivers right now? Like what would you? I mean, a couple of years ago, you'd say Elliott. He
you
won the
mean
2020
like
championship.
what? Because of this new car, even?
Yeah, as we sit here today, and you got the 4 driver lineup, how would you rank them 1 through 4? And because I got it in, I mean, Elliott, 2020 season won 5 races, 15 top 5s, 22 top 10s, 1,247 laps that season. So you would think going into 2021, he's the lead driver. Larson's probably second. Well, Larson's won 11 times.
Yeah,
he's
then. Obviously still dominated.
He's won, but here's where it gets the kicker, and this is where it's 2, 3, 4. Bowman's got 5 wins, 9 top 5s, 18 top 10s, 177 laps led. Byron, 2 wins, 14 top 5s, 22 top 10s, 573. Elliott, 2 wins. He's basically equal with William Byron, other than top 10, 15 top 5s to 14 top 5s, 24 top 10s to 22 top 10s. It's just the laps led has been different between the two. So Elliott's the only one who hasn't won this season. Elliott hasn't won on an oval since 2020.
And because of that, you might have to put Bowman second.
Bowman second, but he also is he's only got 9 top 5s.
I know, but
he's way less.
He wins races.
So that's the key. So what's the here out of saying all that? Who's leading the points right now?
I know, Chase Elliott. It's just crazy.
Elliott.
How in the world is he leading the point standings?
And he has 0 top. He has as many top 5s as me and you.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have a top 5. He's lead. So it's an interesting debate. Is who, if you had to rank the 4, we all know Larson's 1. Who's 2, 3, 4? How would you rank those right now?
Yeah, I could see all sorts of different answers.
There is. Yeah. So it's an interesting debate to have, and maybe we could get CJ on the show one time and debate. I'd be curious. That one and Gibbs. How would you rank Gibbs 1 through 4? Because right now, I'd say maybe Kyle's number 1, but Hamlin's won all the races the last few years. So it's an interesting debate in how you would rank those teams right now.
Yeah, actually, and CJ has Elliott and Byron on his team.
Yeah.
All right, that'll wrap it up. What's next week?
Richmond.
Oh, okay, Richmond. That should be interesting because we definitely needed better racing at Richmond. So this should be a nice test next week.
This would be another test. So yeah, that's what's good. We got the test this week and a test next week to see who's got this thing figured out and if this car translates well over.
Unless we have it. Well, we could have a 6 different winner this week.
Now that would be this. If Elliott wins this week, then I would tell me the parity is alive and well because he hasn't won all year.
But even if he doesn't,
I don't know.
And Larson doesn't win, the parity is still alive.
Even more parity.
Yeah.
I would like to see a 6th winner, and I still go to say, hopefully Chastain, where you look up and you're going to have a Chastain. You've got Byron already won, Briscoe. Eventually, it's going to put some pressure on these. It's like, whoa, how many winners are we going to get? How many winners do you go for? And these we've not mentioned Logano, Blaney, Hamlin, Truex. Kyle,
but you know what? If they don't,
Chase.
if the drivers don't go 4 win deep, 5 win deep, and that stuff, then there will be enough wins for some of these other drivers. So
one change, which is I'm going to have it a future burning question, is are 16 playoff guaranteed spots too many? Because you look at like the NCAA tournament, there's 68 spots.
Right now, it doesn't look like that's the case.
No, I would venture. I'd rather see like 12.
Yeah, I mean, the last few years, 16 is way too much. But what if we have this parity all year?
I think it almost even makes it even more if you have this parity in only 12 spots. Now you got to win multiple times. Now it makes every race matter more because one win may not get you in anymore. That I feel like it almost would elevate the Daytona 500 more because you don't have, we got some random winner and he's automatically in.
True.
Well, maybe not. Maybe he's not. Maybe Michael McDowell doesn't make it last year, which I don't think he would. If you go down to 12.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Austin Cindric doesn't make it this year. I feel like
it
elevates the regular season. But it's another burning question I'll have here in a few weeks is because NFL's got 32 teams, but if you look at the percentage of teams, the playoff spots, NASCAR is one of the highest in a sense. There's 36 charter teams, and 16 of them make it. 20 of them don't. 16 make it. The NCAA, you've got 320 D1 teams, and only 68 of them make it. So the percentage of make it and don't is a lot different than 16 out of 36 for NASCAR. So maybe it's something to revisit, because I think it elevates the regular season a little more.
Well,
because you can't.
We'll have a good example this year, because hopefully, if this continues all season,
be nice.
Fingers crossed.
It'd be nice.
I'm starting to think each week that goes by, I'm starting to just hope that it's going to last all season. So
it's working. So far, we'll say we're 5 weeks in, and it's safe to say it's everything we hoped it would be so far.
More so.
So that's a win. That's a win in my category.
All right, Richmond next week, racereviewonline.net. And by the way, the next IndyCar race is April 10th.
Yep, and Long Beach.
So we still have, we'll talk more about that in the next week or so. But next week, it will be just NASCAR. So, Eric, appreciate it. And we'll
thank you.
Talk to you again next week.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.